honourable member for Prince Edward Hastings.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable colleagues in the House, I'm tremendously honoured today to speak on our budget, Economic Action Plan 2015. In the darkest days of the Great Recession, our government made a very important promise to Canadians. And it was a simple promise. Once the crisis passed, that we would set a course towards balanced budgets, that we would not raise taxes to do it, that we would control spending and rein in costs. Well, Economic Action Plan 2015 fulfills that promise. Canadians can rest assured that our fiscal house is in order. We have balanced the budget just as families must do every single day of their lives. And we balance this budget while cutting taxes. Today, the overall tax burden is at its lowest level in 50 years. And we balance the budget while increasing transfer payments and thereby protecting our investment in the education and the health care that Canadians cherish. And this is no small achievement, Mr. Speaker. It took a plan, it took hard work and tough choices, because after all, not like our statement by, of course, our opposition, budgets do not balance themselves, as we've heard so many times, that fallacy. But now Canada sets out on a new course. With a balanced budget comes opportunity. The opportunity to put even more money back into the pockets of Canadians. The responsibility to continue our focus on creating jobs and on growth and on long-term prosperity. That means cutting taxes even further for hard-working families. That means taking action so that businesses can thrive, they can innovate, and they can expand their markets. That means new and innovative investments in the infrastructure Canadians rely on, and training a highly skilled workforce that respond to the evolving needs of employers. And it means investing in Canada's most sacred responsibility, that of protecting Canadians and securing Canada. And again, Mr. Speaker, very important to our government, and certainly to me, is the fact that this budget does what we promised to do. Canadians need to know that when their government makes a commitment, they're true to their word. It's been said many times, Mr. Speaker, that promises don't pay the bills. Well, it's a lesson, sadly, that our opposition has not taken to heart. But importantly, this deficit has been reduced from $55.6 billion at the height of the Great Recession to a projected surplus of $1.4 billion for 2015-2016. And necessary because for all Conservatives, we recognize that we cannot continue to run deficits. Very simply, I personally, and I know most of my colleagues, if not all of them, simply believe today's deficits are inevitably tomorrow's taxes. So we must demonstrate to our young generation that we are not going to leave them with the obligation of paying for our responsibilities. And importantly, Mr. Speaker, we have done this while investing in families, in seniors, in military, in security, in veterans. It's in job creation and transfers to the provinces and infrastructure, while still reducing taxes and reducing waste. And we have proven, Mr. Speaker, yes, we have proven that we can create a more prosperous economy, resulting in then increased revenues. Mr. Speaker, I will briefly outline just a few of the positive elements in this budget, and I'll have to touch on only a few because time will not permit me to go on at length. But we supported jobs and growth, and really what this is about, this particular component, it's about tax cuts, it's about training, and it's about trades. We reduced the small business tax rate to 9% by 2019, putting an estimated $2.3 billion back into the pockets of job creating entrepreneurs between now and 2020. We've increased the lifetime capital gains exemption to $1 million for farmers and fishermen. We're improving access to financing for Canadian small businesses through the Canada Small Business Financing Program. We're expanding the services operated by the Business Development Bank of Canada to help small and medium-sized businesses. We're investing $14 million over 2 years to Futurepreneur Canada in support of our young entrepreneurs. And we're investing in the action plan for women entrepreneurs to help women business owners succeed. We're helping innovative companies grow, create jobs through the Venture Capital Action Plan. And we're taking action to harmonize apprenticeship training and certification requirements in targeted red seal trades. Investing in world-class research and innovation by providing over $1.5 billion in funding over 5 years to advance the government's renewed science, technology, and innovation strategy. by continuing to provide $5.3 billion per year on average and growing, Mr. Speaker, for provincial, territorial, and municipal infrastructure under the new Building Canada plan. And in addition, Mr. Speaker, investing another $750 million over 2 years starting in 2017-18, and $1 billion more ongoing thereafter for a new public transit fund aimed at building new public transit infrastructure to reduce congestion and fight the gridlock in our large cities. We're helping families and communities prosper. As has been stated many times, and I know it's so welcome, we've been increasing the tax-free savings account annual contribution limit to $10,000, effective for the 2015 and subsequent taxation years. And you should know, Mr. Speaker, about 60% of the individuals contributing the max amount had income of less than $60,000. Overwhelmingly, they're seniors who are taking money from their RRSPs and putting it into the TFSA so that they can have a secure retirement. Supporting families through tax cuts, which give money to 100% of the households with children. That's critical, Mr. Speaker. 100% of the households. For an average family of four, that's over $6,000, whether through the family tax cut and the increased universal child care benefit. So yes, Mr. Speaker, we do believe moms and dads, they are absolutely the best position to look after the interests of their children, and certainly not government bureaucrats. We're supporting seniors by introducing changes to the Registered Retirement Income Fund that will allow them to withdraw less from their tax-deferred savings. We're supporting seniors and persons with disabilities by introducing the Home Accessibility Tax Credit to help with renovation costs so that they can live independently and remain in their homes. We're enhancing access to post-secondary education by expanding the eligibility for low and middle-income Canada student grants to students in short-duration programs. We're extending the temporary measure that allows a qualifying family member to become the plan holder of a registered disability savings plan. And we are supporting the most vulnerable in our communities by providing an additional $50 million in 2016-17 to what is already there to support social housing in Canada by allowing social housing providers to prepay their long-term non-renewable mortgages without penalty. Also as well, we're improving access to print materials for the visually impaired. We're reintroducing a new retirement income security benefit for severely disabled veterans. We're increasing the level of individualized care to veterans requiring regular support by improving the ratio of veterans to case managers. We're expanding the Veterans Independence Program. And of course, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned very importantly as well, we're ensuring the security of Canadians. And how? Increasing the national defence funding by providing the Canadian Armed Forces with an additional $12 billion, thus ensuring that Canada can and will continue to field a combat-capable military ready to serve at home and abroad. We're supporting the deployment of Canadian Armed Forces in order to counter the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. We're countering violent extremism and terrorism by providing additional resources to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and the Canada Border Security Agency. And we're enhancing Canada's capacity to gather foreign intelligence. And we are protecting the integrity of our borders by expanding the use of biometric screening to further improve the security and the integrity of the Canadian immigration system and facilitate legitimate travel to Canada for low-risk travelers for select visa-required countries. Of course, I've only had a little bit of time to highlight a very few of the Economic Action Plan 2015 many important initiatives. So what I urge listeners to visit the finance website where you'll find the complete budget plan and the My Benefit site that spotlights individuals just like anybody listening here today and see how they can benefit from this budget. So in closing, let me repeat that our government is absolutely committed to job creation and economic growth, objectives that have underpinned our Economic Action Plan since its inception in 2009. Implementing policies focused on raising Canada's economic potential and creating stable, well-paying jobs continues to be our government's top priority, and it always will be. Economic Action Plan 2015 takes additional steps to achieve these objectives, including eliminating the deficit as promised. So maintaining our focus on these priorities is the best way to ensure that Canada is prepared to weather any future economic storm. By staying the course and sticking to our proven economic action plan, we're clearly on track to a better future. I thank all the numerous groups and individuals in my riding of Prince Edward Hastings for their wise counsel. I know they are encouraged to see that their input has been reflected in this budget, a budget that is designed not only for today, but certainly for tomorrow.
Question et commentaire. L'honorable député Alfred Parent.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Et puis, j'aimerais remercier mon collègue de Prince Edward Hastings pour son discours qu'il vient de faire sur le budget 2015 des conservateurs. On siège ensemble sur le comité de la sécurité publique. Je dois mentionner avant toute chose qu'il fait un excellent travail comme président du comité et je l'apprécie énormément. Ce qui m'amène à ma question qui est reliée au domaine de la sécurité publique. Vous savez, Monsieur le Président, un des enjeux principaux sur lesquels tous les partis en cette Chambre ou tous les membres en cette Chambre travaillent et aimeraient travailler de pair, eh bien, l'enjeu de la radicalisation et du terrorisme. Bien sûr, on a tous des vues différentes, mais il y a une chose qui nous est mentionnée par les différentes forces de l'ordre à travers le pays, et c'est le problème de financement, en fait, de nos forces de l'ordre. Dans le budget qui nous est présenté par les conservateurs, et le ministre de la Sécurité publique l'a mentionné un peu plus tôt à la période des questions, il y a une enveloppe qui est octroyée de 300 millions de dollars à l'Agence des services frontaliers, à la GRC et au Service canadien de renseignement et de sécurité pour contrer le terrorisme à travers le pays. Deux problèmes avec ça. Premièrement, une enveloppe de 300 millions de dollars, ce qui est très peu pour nos agences et nos forces de l'ordre pour mettre en place un plan et contrer le terrorisme à travers le pays. Et deuxièmement, la majorité de cet argent-là ne sera pas accessible avant 2017. On parle de moins de 20 millions de dollars qui est accessible d'ici là pour nos agences, ce qui est extrêmement peu vu tout l'impact que ça a sur nos communautés, sur nos sociétés en général. Alors, ce que j'aimerais demander à mon collègue, en fait, c'est peut-être de commenter là-dessus, à savoir, est-ce que le gouvernement conservateur n'aurait pas dû présenter un plan, en fait, afin de mieux investir dans nos services de force de l'ordre, afin de contrer le grave problème du terrorisme et de la radicalisation, soit chez nos jeunes, mais dans nos collectivités en général.
The honourable member for Prince Edward Hastings.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and certainly I recognize the contribution as well as my colleagues from across the floor, and it honestly is it's a pleasure to work with her on the committee. We have a tone of civility, I think, that certainly adds to the not only the composition of the committee itself, but to the work that we do. Our differences actually, though they may appear to be so large in the public sphere, when it's magnified under a national media perspective, quite frankly, we share a lot of common values that in most cases we can work through to find a solution. So I thank her for her contribution in working with her. There is no doubt that any increase to all of our enforcement services, whether it's the CSIS, RCMP, NSE, the police services, it's always welcome. Is there enough? There's never enough, particularly facing the challenges we do today. But I do recognize the fact that particularly we're dealing with C-51 right now at committee, and we understand how much of a challenge that we do face as a country. And I don't want to be melodramatic about it, but certainly is a serious challenge that requires not only serious dollars, but serious attention to dealing with all the prevention tools that we need. I know the consultation we've had has been with these organizations, and I'm quite confident that we're going to be able to satisfy both their needs and they can work for the protection of Canada accordingly.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Scarborough, Agincourt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to also thank the honourable member for Prince Edward Hastings for his contribution to the debate on Budget 2015. But my question for him really relates to his party's support or lack of support for the Opposition Day motion that was introduced by our party this week with respect to government spending on advertising, and why his particular party, he talks much about protecting taxpayer dollars and about making sure that that taxpayers are respected, yet they are not. It appears that they will not be prepared to support our party's motion calling for an independent commissioner to look at ads that are supposedly out to promote the government's position on various initiatives. Why is that in fact the case? I have a second question for the honourable member, and that relates to the whole question of jobs and growth. There again is much talk about how this particular economic action plan will be promoting jobs and growth, yet his Minister of Finance can't actually tell us how many jobs this actual budget will produce. Can this member shed some light on that particular question?
Member for Prince Edward Hastings.
Well, most interesting, of course, that I find it a little strange that the member wouldn't want to comment on the budget. He wants to switch to another topic. And yet that says it all to me for a simple reason being, maybe I'll just go on through some of my life's experiences. I was in the hospitality business for many, many years. And as such, one of the things you do, you become a bit of a student of body language. And I can tell you, I sat in the House here while that budget was introduced. And I certainly understand why the opposition do not want to talk about the budget. I could see across the floor, they were deflated. They knew that this budget touches literally everybody across this nation in a positive manner. So certainly, wanting to switch the channel, I can understand that. But beside that, I do welcome the member back to the House, and certainly we're very, very pleased to see you in the recovery mode and making a contribution back to this House. As I said, whether we agree or whether we disagree, the fact is we're all proud Canadians. And from a point of job numbers, all I can suggest to say is the job numbers are going up while the unemployment level is going down. And what better indication is it than that, that this country is in good shape with this government?
No, he is.